So freedom to me is, do I need $120,000 worth of additional income this month? Is it going to make me happy? What is it going to do for my business? $120,000 is a lot of money, but what am I going to do? Sure, I could reinvest it into other aspects of the business, but all my time's gone, and my time is my most valuable asset.
In today's episode of the All Business Baby podcast, I'm speaking to Arkadiusz from RKDS.
Ego has killed my business more than it has created wealth. And I think when you talk about financial stability, I think no matter who you are, no matter where you are in your financial journey, you need to find stability in that moment, because things could always be worse. Things can always be better. So good, this is my situation now. I have to deal with it.
So we've known each other for about probably close to a decade now.
Maybe even
probably more.
over.
Yeah, maybe more than that for our mutual friend, Mr. Sparks. Good old Sparky.
Okay, Donald.
I've followed your journey over time as well, and more so recently, you've been going pretty well, I'd say. You're a financial planner. You've started your own financial planning business, and I like to play on words on the business name RKDS, which is your name, Arkadiusz. I call you Arik. Not sure why.
And a lot of people get confused because when, like, for example, sometimes we'll send tradies from like our area to clients' places, and they'll be like, "Yep, Arik sent me," and they're like, "Who?
Who the hell's Arik?" Yeah,
Arik is though my Polish name is Arkadiusz, right? So Arkadiusz, which I've just made Australian, but the shortening of that is Arik.
Arik.
So like growing up, my mum, my dad would always be like Arik, and then Graham picked up Arik.
Right.
So hence why all you boys call me Arik. So it just stuck. So yeah.
Right. So
that's where that comes from. That's why you call me that.
That's the origin.
That is
the origin story. Well, RKDS, Real Knowledge Diverse Solutions. How did you come up with that name? How did you come up with the business idea, or why did you get into business?
So I think prior to the business name, obviously a business has to exist or an idea has to exist. So why did I get into business? I think I've always been self-employed just naturally throughout my life. You know, I was where we are right now on this street. I remember when I was 19, I used to knock doors here selling door-to-door Foxtel, literally on this street. So I sent a photo to a solicitor that I know now I still deal with, that I went to his family's home here. I was like, that's your house, you know? So I think naturally I've always been in business. I don't think I'm very employable just because of my personality and my ideas and the way that I do things. So I was very fortunate to find the right mentors in the early stages of this journey. So the journey was knocking on doors, Foxtel, and then I knocked on the COO's door of one of Australia's largest insurance companies. I won't name it, but you can have a guess. I sold his wife Foxtel, and he questioned me about terms and conditions, and he was like, "How would you like to make $5,000 a week selling insurance?" I was like, "Yes, sounds great." So he actually paid for all my education and my studies. So he actually flew me to Melbourne, paid for my initial, general advice license, insurance license, financial planning licenses were different at the time. I did that and I fell into it, as you do. So throughout my education journey of trying to become an advisor, doing, tradie work and doing things on the side, trying businesses like car parts, you name it, I've done it. I've probably done like 20 jobs prior to this. I stumbled upon Eleni Kafalos, and she was a lecturer at one of my courses, and she sat me down. We sat down for lunch. And she's like, "Arkadiusz, I just want to let you know that you're unemployable." I was like, "Okay, that's nice." She's like, "So what you're going to do is when you finish this and you're going to graduate in the next 2 months, you're going to start your own financial planning business." This was 7 years ago now. So I was like, "Why?" She's like, "The only reason financial planners exist, the only reason the industry exists is not because we have all the answers. It's because we know what questions to ask. And you're very good at asking questions. So what you're going to do is I'm going to help you develop a visual fact find. So, when you ask questions, what's your world? What are your goals, etc. You're going to sit there, you're going to shut your mouth, and you're just going to listen. You're going to write them down, and you're going to tell everyone that you have a team to assist them in solving those questions. So you have a team, you're going to grab that, you're going to sit down with me. I'm going to bill you at $880 an hour to help you solve that and put together advice. So factor that into your cost, and that's how you should do it. So that's literally what I did. So we used to sit down at Malabar. I never ended up paying her because she had a business called Training Legal Consulting Group, which wasn't branded very well. So she's like a legal gun for hire.
Right.
So I changed it into TLC Consulting Group, Tender Loving Care, but also, so I rebranded that for her, did her website. We sort of had a mutual professional sort of relationship where it was bartering services.
Yeah, of course.
So she helped me build that. That's how I fell into the business. And I just found it interesting being able to solve people's problems. So on the back of that, I didn't really have a business name because I was sort of privately consulting for different firms. So I did like a bit of consulting work. I started and stopped the business at times. I worked for little firms and things like that. And then I sat down and I need my own business. Like there's a gap in the market. No one's helping young people with quality financial advice. There's no one out there helping a young person buy a home, right? If you go to a financial advisor and you say, my goal is I want to buy a property, what happens? They're like, manage fund.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Manage fund, share portfolio.
I mean, a lot of financial planners that I deal with or that we're used to seeing, they're usually wanting to work with high net worth individuals, right? So, and they have the money to play with to put in your managed funds or...
I wonder why, because they charge a percentage-based fee. So they're incentivized to do that, right? Because if you've got a young client with $60,000 in super and $40,000 worth of investments, call it 100, 150 grand of funds available, and you're, as a traditional advisor, charging 0.6 to 1%, it's not really exciting.
No.
A financial planning model works much like a gym. If all financial advisor clients wanted advice from a financial planner all at one time, they'd be fucked, right? So our model's a little bit different. You pay for the advice, you pay for the time, and we're not incentivized by you putting money in towards investments, right? Because we don't charge percentage-based fees.
Yeah.
So saw the gap, saw an opportunity and just went for it, and I've learned a lot from it. And the business name came from a lot of firms, a lot of successful firms piggyback on using their names. My name's quite weird, literally A to Z, Arkadiusz.
Unique, yeah.
So I was like, well, back in school, it was RKDS because it was just simplified. And I was like, how can I make this work? So I just would sit there and one day I wrote real knowledge, which is what we try to provide. And we try to provide diverse solutions and it stuck. So that's how the business name came. Yeah, real knowledge, diverse solutions, which is the model that we always give.
Which is really good. So it's very unique. You said something earlier where you tried all these different business opportunities and none of them really stuck. Why was that? And what did you actually try out?
When I was 14, I started, do you remember JDMST?
Yeah.
Like the forum, so the car forum.
Yes.
So I started a company called Fix Me Garage and I used to import, do you know Streeter? I feel like everyone in the Japanese car community,
no.
like
I was never really into car
JDM
game
stuff.
Yeah,
Okay,
I knew
cool.
it because everyone else was, but
for anyone watching, JDMST, Streeter, I was probably one of the first that used to import little parts from Japan. So, the Nadi steering wheels and the quick releases, I used to import them, sell them. And then I got into guard rolling because I bought a guard roller. So I did like free guard rolling to learn. I was like, no guarantee if I crack your paint, it's free. And people would just bring their, shitty S13s and their MX5s and I did that. So that was my first business venture. It's probably one of my biggest regrets because I stopped that. So it was really successful and it was doing really well. And I sat down with someone that I really admired as a mentor at the time. And they were like, you should never mix your passion with your business because you'll fall out of that. And I was like, that's good advice. So I literally just stopped that business on the back of that and went and worked in a factory. So that was my first business failure because I got the wrong advice.
Yeah.
On the back of that, my business has changed. So this business has existed for 7 years, which is probably that's the extent of what I've done, but the model has changed. So the business has changed. So when you ask me what businesses have I tried, I think I've tried different renditions of this business. And I think I'm sure if I look back at this video in 2 years' time, I'm going to laugh, but I think I've really nailed it this time. I think I've really gotten clear on what we're good at. I know what I'm good at. I know what our team's good at. And I think we've also channeled the perfect niche. So I think this is the business model. But like I said, I think if we look at this in 2 years' time, we'll laugh at it and be like, you thought wrong,
Well, I mean, look, before we get into your business model and how you're operating now and what it looks like, for anyone watching this and thinking about getting into business, do you have any tips for them to actually get started?
I think learning and looking back at my mistakes when I did have those short stints of having a job, because I took on contracting work and did consulting work for Deloitte and other firms like that during that time. I think what I should have done during my PAYG stints is taken more leverage risk. So, when I was doing that, I was earning income that I wasn't earning from the business because that was supplementing me. And I didn't use that to buy property. I didn't use that to put it into index funds. And I look back at, you know, one of those first stints where I was on $150,000 at 22 years old. I could have bought a $1 million, $1.2 million property, right? And if I bought that $1 million, $1.2 million property, established it as my principal place of residence, moved out and moved back home even, you know, to Cabramatta, I would have had an equity position, which would have allowed me to grow my business more. I could have sold the property and cashed out $500,000, which would have been put me in a better position. So I think number one tip, if you're employed, use that security to take outside risks, even if it's not in your business, like invest, do those things. Because I didn't do that.
But safe investments though.
Based on your risk appetite, because everyone's risk appetite is different. You know, like if your risk appetite, if you understand cryptocurrency and that's your baby and you've been investing in it since 2014 and you understand that realm, who are we to tell someone that that's not safe, right? Everyone's risk appetite is different. So maybe your risk appetite is not property. Maybe you're not comfortable having to put aside $150 a week or $300 a week because it's negatively geared. Maybe that's uncomfortable. So identify how much risk you're willing to take, define that risk, and buy investments aligned with your risk 100%. The second biggest tip is just ego. You know, like ego has killed my business more than it has created wealth. And I understand confidence is extremely important. You know, your shoulders are up and you're confident and you're shaking hands.
Shoulders up.
Yeah. You know, head to the ceiling posture. So looking back at the mentors and the capacity of being able to grow my business faster by utilizing existing businesses rather than trying to build everything myself, that slowed me down a lot. You know, trying to build my own finance arm, trying to build my own tax arm, trying to build my own legal arm, trying to build my own.
I've been there, man. I've been there. Like, you know, when you're young, you're hungry. That's us to a fault, right? You're hungry. You want to do everything. You want to build this, that, and that.
I can do it better. I can do it better. Yeah.
That's right. But, you know, relying on others and understanding what you're good at and what they are good at and leveraging their skill set and actually combining that, it's going to, you know, facilitate faster growth or be able to get you to where you need to go faster, a lot quicker. I learned that the hard way as well. I got into business. I thought about, well, I didn't think about, but I thought I knew everyone and everything. But then, as you say, remove the ego and you realize you're going to get to that place a lot quicker. I thought I could do everything myself, but I decided, you know what, I actually need help. I don't know everything out there. And so I actually hired a business coach to help me for 12 months. That person, you know, was a few years older, but he's done what I wanted to do. And so I didn't have to go through the trials and tribulations of making errors and all of that. He had the solution already ready to go and I could just learn that. And the biggest thing there was the sales and marketing. I'm an accountant, man. I'm not really good at that. That's not my bread and butter.
Yeah. And I think for me, what I've identified over these years is I'm a creative. Yep. I'm definitely very good at business. I'm definitely a good presenter. I articulate well in presentations. I don't have to put me in front of a room of 500 people. I am comfortable. Put me in front of an email where I have to write a summary of a conversation and that shit's going to take me 40 minutes.
Just use ChatGPT.
Right? Even then I'm like, how do I prompt this? It's like, okay, like my brain is just not done that way. So for me, it's like, why am I trying to build a business that one, I'm not good at, two, I don't enjoy. Like if I'll never ever forget, I woke up one day, I had 26 strategy calls booked into my calendar for the week. I was like, that's a great feat. Right, 26 people have paid $220 to book in time. I woke up and I couldn't breathe. I was like, that's 26 summary emails. I was like, holy shit. So 40 minutes conversation, I'll do that, but then I have to send 26 summaries. I'm like, I can't do these calls anymore.
I hate it as well.
Like I can't. So why am I doing this? Right. So one, ego. Two, if you suck at something, either do everything to get good at it or stop. Just stop. Like don't do it. Just don't offer it. On the strategy call, i.e. if you don't want to send a summary email, tell the client on the call, I want you to take notes because I'm too busy to send an email. That's it. But I would be like, no, I'm going to send you an email. I'm going to do this. I'm going to hold your hand. And then it's just ego. That's ego. Yeah.
Those are good tips. And I think the first tip you mentioned about if you are a PYG employee, worker, and you have aspirations of potentially getting to business one day, it's making those investments. The sooner the better, because as you know, over time it compounds. It gives you a better equitable position to then take those risks.
100%.
You know, some people now that are thinking about getting into business, they can't Why? Because they've got family and kids. They've got a mortgage. They're in, prison pretty much. They're a slave to the big four banks, making those repayments. They can't afford to take those risks. Yep. So that's a very good tip.
But also, like, just touching on that, I think if you are in a POIG environment, if you are doing these things, just flirt. Yep. Like, you don't have to quit your job and go to bed with this business idea and just sack your whole life. Just flirt with it. Like, we have social media. So if you have an idea, start a social account. If there's a conflict of interest at work, do it in your wife's name. All right. We're not like figure that out and just post a few things. What's the market feedback? Are your friends going to refer you? Like, if your friends think it's shit and your friends don't like your comments and they're your friends, what do you think is going to happen when you hit it on the market? So flirt, like, go out there, try things, create a logo. Like, what's a logo cost now?
It's cheap. And that's right. I think to your point as well, if you do have those business ideas, try it. Have that, communicate that. If you've got a family, communicate that with your partner and say, you know what, hey, I do want to try this thing. I want to spend maybe 6 months or 12 months doing this. Can you financially help the family, support the family in that time? But I think having that communication with the partner, being transparent about that, having a plan for the next 3, 6, 12 months to see if you can be successful is ideal, because ultimately if you fail, you can go back to your 6-figure paying job. What's wrong with that?
100, like, the biggest thing that people don't realize is if you have money sitting in your offset account on your mortgage and you feel like you're a slave to it, what's the fucking worst thing that happens? Ourselves as an example, my missus has worked for over a decade. And she's on a 6-figure salary and she was like trying to do different things. I'm like, worst case, you're unemployed for 6 months.
That's right.
There's money in the offset. We'll be fine. And I understand not everyone's in that position where they're comfortable, but like, that is your worst case scenario. There was a quote that I saw the other day. It's like, as an entrepreneur, if you're going to go out there and you're going to try a business and it doesn't work out, your absolute worst case is that you end up being normal and okay like everyone else. That's your worst case. Right. So if you don't, that Countach or that Vaucluse property and the Mercedes and the Rolex or whatever this vision of you that exists, if that doesn't work out, you can wear your brown RMs and your suit
there's
and you can go.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and that's your worst. That's your worst case. So I think people are just so afraid.
I think that's a mindset thing as well. You're always you're always thinking about others and what other people have, but what happens if you just think about what you have and that's enough? Like, you're stable. There's nothing wrong with being financially stable. You don't have to chase that financial freedom. Good point. Let's segue a little bit to your business now. So in following your journey, you were helping anyone and everyone basically. But now I've noticed, especially with your social media content, you're now really focused on, and as you mentioned earlier, just your younger individuals. Tell us a little bit more about that model, why you've decided to go down that route, and also why you've decided to go down the one-to-many route.
Can you define one-to-many, just so I'm clearer on because obviously you're an outsider looking in on my business and you're in business side. I'm curious about what your interpretation
so when I say
of
one-to-many, when you get into business, especially a service provider, right? Me being an advisor, CFO, I can help many different clients in many different industries. There's no particular niche that I work with, but what that means is I'm now not as efficiently using my time because I have to spend time focusing on one client on a particular industry. Whereas yourself, you've niched it down, and now you're just targeted, young individuals. The content or the advice that you're putting out is more or less the same because it's the same. Well, it's the one niche, and so you no longer have to have those one-to-one sessions. The 26 strategies for the whole week, but you've got the one strategy. One size fits all. For that particular target client. So
you're noticing that we're doing events where
it's all focused on young individuals trying to buy their first home, and I think you've put some social content out about that.
Yep.
So what triggered you to go, you know what, I'm not going to focus on everyone. I'm just going to focus on this particular niche of clients. What was the thought process around that to now developing your new business model?
I think when you're in business, I'm just assuming the casual nature of this podcast, hence why I'm not wearing a suit.
That's fine.
A suit. You're a slut. You're just like, I'm going to take anything I can get.
Yep.
If they're a doctor in Vaucluse and they need a refinance, want to take it because I need the cash flow. If it's a 18-year-old that needs to pay off their credit card, I'm going to give them Cis Club because it's going to put them in my realm, etc. So I think in the early stages of business, I didn't really have a choice. Now, looking back at it, I think if I niched it harder earlier back, I probably would have become who I am today faster.
It's a tough thing to juggle though, because when you do get into business, you do need to be a slut.
Yeah.
Because you need to survive. You don't have anything else to live off, right?
Because I made the mistakes of not doing the right things in the setup and the ego and trying to do everything myself, etc. Right?
Yeah,
Looking back, hindsight's beautiful. If I looked back and I was mentoring someone, I'd be like, this is how you do it. And then the 22 version of me would be like, fuck you, what do you know? You know, so looking back at that, I think there's two answers to this. One is stupidity. Like what I'm doing at the moment is not necessarily the smartest business decision. It's much easier. We call him Khao for anyone that knows, like Khao, not as in, not moo. So it's much easier for me to wear a 3-piece suit, and I can do this, wear a 3-piece suit, target a doctor and refinance a $6.5 million loan in Vaucluse or Double Bay. That's easy. You do the math, 0.65% of that loan. It's very easy. It's very streamlined, and they're not going to ask any questions because you're saving the money. It is very hard to help a first home buyer buy their first home with a mortgage being $800,000. That is an extremely hard feat. They ask a lot of questions. They don't know what they're doing. They're looking at all the wrong things. They're being sold on social media that they should buy 3 properties in regional.
They're just not educated.
No.
Yeah.
But no one else is educating them appropriately. So that's the gap. So our approach is, if I dedicate the time at the moment and I only focus on educating, say 25 to 35 year olds that have a certain amount of money in their bank account on a certain income, and all we do is help them buy in a 25-kilometer radius of the Sydney CBD, and that's all we specialize in. As you said, it allows me to speak to more people, which makes my conversation easier. When people come into our realm, they already know that they shouldn't be buying in Western Australia as their first home. I don't even have to talk about that anymore. They come to me, they're like, hey, I have a guarantor. I know that's not going to be my forever home. I know that my borrowing capacity is limited because of debt to income ratios. Can you help me? Can you meet with my parents? My super's already sorted. And I'm like, oh my God, you are my ideal client.
Yeah, let's go.
The only thing about that is the upfront income on that client is not very large. So what we as a business had to do was do it on a bigger scale. So as opposed to me conducting 20 phone calls a week, I do one event once a week or once a month where we have that conversation in a general format, and then we have different specialists to look after them on their loan, etc. So the vision of the business is, why did I do it? One, because I was going to go broke if I kept working with people individually. So I needed to scale it immediately. Like I looked at my cash flow and I was like, my billable time is this much per hour, $5.50 per hour. If I'm spending 40 minutes on a call, then it takes me 40 minutes to write an email. And then the conversion of that is, even at 80%, it's not enough money. Because even if we do 10 of these loans at $800,000 a month, it's not enough. And it's just not enough because I can just go refinance a doctor and it takes me 3 hours. So stupidity, because I think this niche is hard, but I think that's why we're going to nail it, because people were too afraid to actually educate and take the time to do it. So I just think there's a gap. I think a lot of business owners aren't patient. I've already been patient. I've been chilling out for 7 years. I've done this for 7 years. I know that it takes time, and I'm more than happy to grow with these clients for the next 10. Because if they're in our realm, they're doing the right thing, they're going to be the people that own that Vaucluse property and the Double Bay property in 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time the clients they're pretty sticky, so they're going to be clients probably for life if you are providing that service and giving them that value.
So that's why I niched it, because I was spreading too thin. And a good example of that is this month I had 2 options. I have 40 plus people that really want to work with me one-on-one. And what I could have done is, because I sell billable blocks, so it's $3,000 for 8 billable hours for the year, and they're all ready to pay for it. But I know that if I send that invoice out to 40 people, I'm unable to do events in January, February, March. And if I do events in January, February, March, that's 80 people through those periods. So 80, 160, 240. So it takes me away. So what's better? The sugar hit of everyone doing the math.
Opportunity cost, right?
$3,000, 40 people. That's a good December income. Or help 200 people January to March. Which one's better? 200 people.
Yeah, it's tough. Like, when you're going down on the niching route, there's going to be others that still are attracted to what you're providing, the value that you're giving, because they want that kind of assistance as well. And it's kind of tough, trying to think about the opportunity cost, saying no to that sexy, nice thing that you can have right now versus that nice thing that is going to be there forever. And so it's a tough thing to juggle. I guess the other thing about niching down, which maybe you can speak to, is when you are niching down and doing that, providing that one-to-many type of service. You're doing this now. You are building this, call it brand. Over time, how do you feel you will exit that? Like, people are going to be reliant on Arkadiusz to be there, to show up. Like, what have you thought about that? Do you have any plans around exiting yourself from that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think we'll go backwards 3 questions and I'll regurgitate something that I just said and then answer that. You asked about what is freedom to me, right? Like, what does freedom mean in business? And I need to do the math because I'm not an accountant, but if we do a quick math on that, this month at 3,000 at 40 people, I could have made $120,000.
Yep.
Right. But what that would have meant is that I would have to commit all of my time to servicing those clients. Now, that would have helped me, but it would have removed me from building the business and it would have removed me from being able to help people on a bigger scale because I would have had to just help those people.
Yeah.
So freedom to me is, do I need $120,000 worth of additional income this month? Like, do I? Is it going to make me happy? What is it going to do for my business? $120,000 is a lot of money. I'm going to sound like a disgusting capitalist pig, but what am I going to do? Like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to have to pay a big BAS bill on it. I'm going to have to pay GST. It's going to increase my income. Sure, I could reinvest it into other aspects of the business, but all my time's gone and my time is my most valuable asset. Whereas if I don't take that money, which I'm not going to, right? I'm not going to invoice those clients. I'm telling those clients that you don't need to pay me this year because we've got courses, we have events, we have this, and the income stream is going to be smaller from that. Because an event ticket is $79. But what it does is it removes me from that conversation. It removes me as their trusted advisor because realistically, they don't need me. So I can try to create this illusion of need, but why do I need the $120,000? Freedom for me at the moment is not having to have a conversation with those clients every day, not being the person they rely to, because I'll swing this back to a good PT. A good PT will get you into the gym, they'll smash you, and you'll come out fit, but you're reliant on them. A good coach works you out of their life. That's my business model. So my goal is to work myself out of people's lives through different stages of their business, right? Or personal journey or buying a property. So the way in that is courses, events, and staffing. So the last 3 months I've spent having financial advisors and mortgage brokers in our business attend every single session that I do, help with those things. And that's the removal. The removal for me, what's my exit strategy at this moment in the next 3 years is just being able to create content. That's what I think I will enjoy. I'll probably 3 years time be like, I don't want to create content anymore. I'm sick of this. I don't want to do another event.
Train someone else to do it right after.
I hope I feel that feeling because a year ago, all I wanted was 26 phone calls in my calendar. That was the dream. And then when I had the 26 calendar calls, I was like, I don't want this anymore. So I want to feel that I want to get to a stage where I'm like, oh, another podcast. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to wake up and do another. That's what I want. Right. Yeah. So that's going to take time. That's my exit strategy. So it's just redefining what the next goal is. Right now, I want my calendar to be full of podcasts, full of events, full of coursework, full of presentation slides, full of creativity. And then we reset.
You don't know what's next. I guess what is next. So if you do hit that stage, and let's say you do, because generally if you're focused on that goal, you'll get it, right? You continue working at it consistently. Let's say you get there in 3 years. What's the end goal here? You've got into business. You've built this thing where it's self-sufficient. What's next?
Kids, man. Yeah. You know, last night I finished the event. We had a big event. We had 400 plus tickets free sold. There was 200 plus people online. I got home at 11:30. I looked at my missus. She was like ready to go to bed. And I was like, I haven't trained. And I've been a lazy shit lately. So I literally, this is what I did. I put on a weight vest, right? A freaking weight vest, a 10 kilo weight vest. I put headphones on. Best skill, by the way, is listen to David Goggins when you're going for a run. Because you're running and you don't want to run anymore. And he's like, I was at my 60th kilometer and I had a broken foot and I taped it up. And I'm like,
stop,
all right, whatever.
Little bitch, keep running.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was just like, there's this quote and it was like, one day your kids are going to be at school and someone's going to go, that's their dad. Right. So for me, I have an obsessive personality. And when I commit to something and I dedicate it, that's my life. So for me, we talked about Graham Sparks. He's an amazing dad. He picks up his daughters from school every single day. He drops them off. Like, that's what I want to do. So my vision of freedom in the next 3 years, if I can build this beast, if I can do it, I want to pick up my kids. I want to drop them off. I want to spend time. I want to, like we didn't come from much money. Like my mum didn't have time. My father couldn't raise me. So for me, if I can bring my kids in on school holidays into my office and they can have their own play area, that's the vision. It's just dedicating time back to family. I'm working really fucking hard right now. So it doesn't have to be the same in 3 to 5 years because I don't have kids. I don't have a commitment. I'm not married just yet, but I don't want to be a shit husband. I don't want to be a shit father. I don't want to be a shit granddad. And the things that I put in place today are going to help me do that. That's what I'm doing.
And I think you're on the right track, and definitely agree. Like I've gone through that journey as well. I've got a little one now, but it's amazing that I can, 15 months ago, I was working 40, 50 hours, not because I had to, but because there was nothing else to do. Why not make money, right? Then I had the little one, and now I'm thankful that I can just work 3-4 days a week and be able to pick her up, drop her off, pick her up, spend time with her, take her, just do, it might be like stupid, but just do boring shit. But it's fun because you're with people that make you smile and make you happy, right? And then I think about this is why I'm doing all this, or why I've done all this, so that I can have these little moments, these experiences and memories. So it's fun, man. It's enjoyable.
Have you heard the Fisherman Story? There's a fisherman and he lives in a little town and he goes out fishing every day and he catches a few fish and it's enough fish to bring home for the family, and his wife's got a veggie patch, and what they do is he goes out fishing every day, catches enough to feed the family, does his thing, the family get together, they have a bonfire, they spend a lot of time, and there's an international traveler from New York that comes and he's visiting and he's like, what are you doing today? He's like, I'm going fishing. And the international traveler goes, what are you doing? He goes, what you could do is you could, catch more fish and do all this and build a big business. Fast forward, the businessman is like, you could do all of this. Like you could build this fishing business, this tycoon, and we could even can the fish that you catch and you can sell it. And the fisherman goes, why would I do that? So you can go out fishing when you want and then have dinner with your family every day. It's like, but I'm already doing that, right? So a lot of people go, where is my life right now? All I want in my life is to be able to wake up in the morning and do the things that I want. All I want in my life is to spend the night with my partner and tuck my kids in. But you're already doing that. Then you remove yourself from that to earn more money to then not be able to do that again. So in the future you can, right? So for me, that's the one, i.e. if I took the $120,000 worth of income, I would not be able to spend time with my partner in December and January properly.
Look, man, ultimately it's a mindset thing. Once you get past financial stability, it's really up to you whether you're financially free or just free overall. Because you're stable, you've got money coming in, you don't have to worry about bills. And now are you going to have fun with your life, or are you going to continue chasing that next goal, that North Star that always keeps, moving?
And I think when you talk about financial stability, I think no matter who you are, no matter where you are in your financial journey, you need to find stability in that moment, because things could always be worse. Things can always be better. So this is my situation now. I have to deal with it, right? Like, can I earn more money? Yes. Which part of my life is it going to take away? So even if you're PAYG employee, you're struggling with your mortgage, maybe sit down with your partner and go, can we really afford this house? Like, what are we doing? Like, can we sack a bedroom, right? Can we move a suburb over? Can we sell it, take the profit, capital gains free and rent for 12 months? It's like, you can, right? So I think it's just getting comfortable no matter what situation you're in, because as long as you got your health.
That's the main thing, man. Health is wealth, and we'll leave it at that. Thanks, Arik, for joining us.
No dramas,
Appreciate your time. So if you're about to begin your business journey, or you're currently going through your business journey, tune into future episodes so that you can learn more and find a supportive community. Otherwise, follow me on LinkedIn